Beppu from the company that is switching out of making nappies for kids in Japan. Let's talk more about these demographics with Professor Jane Falkingham, Professor of Demography and International Social Policy at the University of Southampton. And Jane, maybe just start on the situation in Japan and what is going on there, because it does seem rather extreme.
Yes, I think Japan is a really great case study for thinking about an aging population because they're really at the forefront of the demographic shifts, which actually we're all going to go through over the next 20 to 30 years. But in Japan, it's almost an extreme example. So last year they had just over 750,000 births, but they've got a population of 75-year-olds of about 18.5 million. So that means that the population 75 plus is about 24 times the number of births that they had last year. So it probably makes good sense for that company to shift. And just to think about the equivalent in the UK, last year we had 870,000 births, so more births in the UK than in Japan, and our population 75 plus is just over 5.6, well, it's about 6 million. So
Okay, yeah,
7 times
ballpark
as many.
figures. That'll
Yeah.
do. It's extraordinary, isn't it? The differences. I mean, earlier on the program, you may not have heard, we were talking about how we've failed to keep up the infrastructure with the population of the country as it's grown quite
Yep.
significantly over the last few decades. You've just mentioned this problem that's facing lots of Western and affluent nations, that their populations will be declining unless something changes. Talk us through that.
Absolutely. So a population is really driven by the number of births a population has, the number of deaths there has, and then the number of migrants. And in Japan, they've really had quite a closed society. So they actually have very low international migration into the country. So they've seen a decline in birth rate, and they've seen rising life expectancy, which means that they've actually had more births more deaths, fewer births, and a declining population. So their population actually started to decline in total size about 5 or 6 years ago. So they've actually reached what we call peak population, and are now seeing population decline in real terms.
Yeah,
Whereas
it
in the
is really.
UK, we also have declining birth rates and living longer, but we actually have quite high levels of international migration. And of course, those levels of international migration, migrants tend to be younger, of working age, and so that's kind of offsetting those other demographic trends for
When
us.
do we reach? When do we reach peak population, do you think?
Well, we're actually continuing to grow at the moment, so our population is still set to increase over the next few years. So it's
We're
probably
not worried about that
another
quite
20.
yet.
Yeah, and we don't have to worry about that quite yet.
Yeah, but it's funny how you get bulges coming up through the population, as David Willits was describing on the program earlier, where you suddenly have shortage of primary school places and then too many primary school places, and it's apprenticeships which are not available, and then you're trying to find more space in care homes as these bulges pass through.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, we've got the peak of the 1960s baby boom just starting to retire now, and the post Second World War baby boom moving into care homes. So we can see those baby booms, baby busts moving through the population.
Yeah. Jane Falkingham, thanks so much for that from University of Southampton. Now, just